well, just thank y'all for coming up, and as I mentioned to you earlier, if y'all come in, if you go to the, go upstairs when we're on the floor, and when we convene, I could, if you're going to be up in the galleries, then I could make sure that it's a part of the record that you all are here, and that we'll introduce you all. You can stand up and just let people know that you all are from Milwaukee, and that you're here to observe the legislature and what a fine job everyone is doing up here, and you all just want to make sure that you got your eyes on everybody, and you know that everybody's going to do the right thing up here. Particularly for Milwaukee, Milwaukee is the largest school district in the state, and that you are here from Milwaukee to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. It's just really good for us from Milwaukee to have you upstairs. So it's like you're helping to validate and to, and you're here to support, the legislators or the elected officials that's supporting what you want. And so I think it's great that y'all. Are you allowed to ask me questions or just? Oh yeah, sure. Everybody feel free. That's what we want, interaction. So, don't everybody start at the same time.
Is that legislation, the Taylor bill, going to be introduced tomorrow?
No, I think what happened was a bill had to be introduced in order for it to go through this process here. Right. Is that the sheet? No, that's not it. The legislative process, there has to be an introduction. Otherwise, it won't be. Well, that's it there. We got some here, Lamont. Yeah, it just, so over in the Senate, it's just a matter of it being introduced so that it can get into the process.
Of hearings and so forth.
Yeah, and then it goes to, like over in the Senate, then Senator Decker now has a lot of control over what happens to that bill. He can schedule it. See, he can schedule it, send it to committee, and then the committee chair can, at their discretion, decide if they want to have a hearing or not. They can have a hearing and that's it. Have a hearing and don't send it out of committee. That's the power of the chair. So, so Senator Lehman, my office worked with Senator Lehman and Director Bond, and we did get the date December 5th at the school. I'm sorry, January 5th at the school administration building. And so, I don't know. Bill's supposed to come to my committee on the assembly side. As of the last Democratic session that we had caucus back in November, the bill still was supposed to come to my committee. I don't know, things change. If the bill is still in if the bill comes to my committee, then it will be a joint hearing with Senator Lehman's. If it don't come to my committee, then I don't know, but Senator Lehman is going to have the hearing. So if nothing else, we have the Senate hearing.
Representative Williams, what have you been hearing from your constituents? And have you been hearing enough from your constituents and where they fall down on the mail takeover?
I've been hearing just, nobody has, I've gotten a couple of emails from people who support the takeover, but I don't have an address on them. They have an email number, but I don't see where they live. But the overwhelming majority of all of my mail is from people who don't support it. In fact, people who don't even live in my district is telling me. I go to the supermarkets, I go everywhere, I go to church, any place I go, people stop me and they just say, hey, they don't know what's wrong with the mayor and the governor. They do not support the takeover and they don't want it, and they're very, very upset about it, and they don't understand why this is going on. This committee, legislative committee, was created years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, to deal specifically with legislation that dealt with Milwaukee, because Milwaukee is the largest school district in the state, and we have a lot of challenges in Milwaukee public schools. And so the legislature here created this committee so that the Milwaukee community would have a committee of people who understood Milwaukee, and that we would be dealt with more specifically in a committee that was just basically created to help Milwaukee, as opposed to being a part of the statewide education committee, where all legislation deal with the entire state. But of course, whatever impacts Milwaukee, it does impact the rest of the state. But there are things that are specific to Milwaukee that is not necessarily the same concerns of people outside of Milwaukee. Just take the residency bill for one thing. That's one thing that people outside of the Milwaukee School District probably don't have any problems with their teachers not living in Milwaukee. But in Milwaukee, that's very, very important that we want our teachers to live in Milwaukee. Now, I know a lot of teachers don't like it because they want to be able to move out. But the point is that we're trying to just make sure that the teachers that work in the system, that they live, because it helps Milwaukee to keep our economic base. But then there's a lot of people who has other problems with that. But that's a bill that would that deals specifically with Milwaukee. And this takeover is specifically the takeover for the Milwaukee School District. If they're not talking about a takeover of any other school district, there's 426 school districts in this state, and they're only talking about taking over one. Yet, in several of our school districts in this state have problems even much greater than those problems in Milwaukee. But they're not talking about taking those over.
Can I take you back to the residency just for a minute? Another argument for residency rules, as I understand it, is that teachers who live in Milwaukee are apt to have a better feeling for the students they teach than if they live in the suburbs.
So that's one of the, and I agree with that, but then other people say that's not necessarily true. But the feeling is that you will, if you live where you work, or work where you live, you will care. You care about where you live. I mean, you care about the city because you live there. You don't live here, you don't care. You know, you spend your money where you live. So if you earn your money in Milwaukee, we want you to spend it in Milwaukee. You know?
I've noticed a lot of the letters in favor of the mayoral takeover of MPS are from suburban residents.
Yes.
The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel letters to the editor.
Yeah, and the county, that's right. So their concern is not so much about Milwaukee, it's about them and where they want to be and where they live. You're right. And so we have a vested interest to keep the power and control of the Milwaukee Public Schools in the hands of the people that live in Milwaukee, the voters in Milwaukee. And one of the ways that you have your input is through your elected board member.